Power on.
The following is a presentation of the Sovryn Tech podcast feed.
It's Fighter Renegades, a Star Wars podcast.
Ooh, that is right. It's time for TIE Fighter Renegades. And even though, I've done a few solo episodes lately, and I might have other solo episodes to come up, but that's for the future. The now, here and now, this is no solo episode, and it's certainly not the movie solo, though there might be some trite comparisons to that as we go along here. But I am being joined by none other than Robin Freebeard from his very own museum, by the way, which it looks like one. Holy shit. These Dune records framed in glass on the wall.
Yeah. Stunning.
How did you get those?
I've been hunting them down for quite a long time, and I think I got them off of a seller on Etsy about a year ago.
Oh, wow.
And they had them at a reasonable price.
Yeah.
Because I've seen them go anywhere from $75 to $700 or several $100s.
Yeah.
And I think I got them for like $35 a piece.
That's amazing. So is this the complete set? Is this all
No,
three?
there are some more that I don't have, but these are the ones that I feel have like the best artwork.
Yeah.
In fact, some of these are like you can't get the artwork in any other format because they're not on books, they're not in any other publications.
Right. Do you recall the name of the artist who did these?
It's the same artist who
did the books.
Yes, who did the books.
Right.
Yeah, at least the first book, and did the illustrations in the illustrated Dune.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the same guy who, because when I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, like, these were the covers. Or, well, not exactly these.
Yeah,
but you
but
could
that
tell it was all
artist.
the same art.
Yeah.
All the way up to, well, even Chapter House, I think, at the time.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there is the paperback edition of Heretics was also done by him.
Right, which is the only way I knew these books, and I was getting them from the public library in Utica, New York, and yeah, I love that. Like, it's so uniquely Dune. The only thing that might be different here, it doesn't have like that font, that really like curly cute
right,
font.
yeah,
that
the one that's been called in some circle the Orthodox Herbertarian font.
I love that. That's fantastic. Well, anyway, fantastic. What a great setting to be recording this in. This is easily the best setting. In fact, dare I say, it's a better setting than even the BDSM studio, because we are just surrounded by greatness in science fiction. Which when we're doing TIE Fighter Renegades, this is the inspiration you want, and it's all over the place, unbelievable. So, and we don't even dare go into the other wings of the museum because we won't even record. We're just gonna be too busy reading,
you're just gonna get lost.
Yeah, exactly. This place is just so amazing.
So he got lost in his own library, you say.
And then there he goes quoting Indiana Jones. Well, we are going to certainly be talking about some Lucasfilm action here because this is TIE Fighter Renegades. And, man, it's been a while since we did an episode. In fact, I was looking at the show notes for the last episode that you and I specifically did of TIE Fighter Renegades. Has it been a while? I feel like it's been a long... We were last talking. It was at least 2-3 months ago.
Yeah.
In fact, maybe it was when you were first in New Hampshire visiting, and we recorded and talked about, like, the news of what's going to be coming up with Obi-Wan. I think it was even before Bad Batch.
Right.
Even aired. Am I
I
right
don't
about
know.
that?
I don't know. I think it was after Bad Batch.
It was after Bad Batch because
Yeah.
we did.
Yeah.
We did do a full review of Bad Batch.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
anyway, it's been a while. So,
yeah, it has. It's been a couple of months.
Yeah. So this will be good, and we are going to be reviewing. We've got other things to talk about. Of course, Star Wars Celebration happened, but the main thing I think that people are going to be looking for in this episode is, are we going to review Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi? And we are 4 episodes deep, and we're going to review all 4. Of course, there's only 2 left after that, which is hard to believe. This is only a 6-episode thing. We'll save that conversation for when we get to it. But I think ahead of that, why don't we get into some of the little stuff? There's so much... I don't know. This year's celebration, in a lot of ways, I felt like there was a lot of talk, but
Not much substance.
Right, not much substance.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot to walk away from.
Yeah.
And I certainly don't recall anything that happened that was like a Thrawn moment. Like,
No.
do you remember when Rebels Season 3 and they introduced that Thrawn was going to be in it?
Right,
Like
yeah.
that,
they brought down the house.
Oh, it was insane. I mean, the amount of colostomy bags in that room, and just like you had to bring a mop, you know, for all the shitting of pants that happened there.
Yeah.
I don't. Hell, I can't remember actually the last time there was that kind of excitement around an announcement.
Well, other than the announcement of the sequel trilogy.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Sure. Like.
Right.
But I mean, since like that was the last big thing I can remember, especially at a celebration. But honestly,
I agree. And I was originally supposed to go to that.
Yeah. Okay. Because it was supposed to happen. What, 2020?
Yeah, it was supposed to happen.
Canceled.
It got canceled because of COVID. It was going to be in Anaheim, California, which is not far from where I used to live.
Right.
And I had initially had tickets for it, and then when they canceled it, I kind of, because of COVID, they'd furloughed me at work, and I basically okay, just give me the money back. You're not giving any set plans as to when or where you're going to be doing this again, because they weren't even sure that they were going to do it in Anaheim, following 2020. So I was like, screw it. And then they ended, announcing that they're going to do it, 2022 in Anaheim. And it happened, just here, like a couple of weeks after I've moved to New Hampshire. So, even if I had kept those tickets, I really wouldn't have been able to use them.
No, right. I hear that. Maybe sometime in the future we'll actually go to a celebration.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
And maybe we can get a whole thing going where you record whatever from there.
But it definitely did, I don't feel like I missed out on anything this time.
No, not this year. Yeah, again, I don't want to call it lackluster because I'm sure the people who are... Yeah, I mean, outside looking in, I'm just saying I imagine a lot of people there were probably just so happy to get together with Star Wars fans again.
Yeah, and that is a really nice aspect of celebration.
Sure. But otherwise it was kind of lackluster. But we did get a couple of nuggets, and I think nuggets is the term to use because these are this is some pretty short fare. One thing that I was glad that we got, and I want to open up with this, finally some fucking footage from Star Wars Andor, which has been in the works. In fact, we already confirmed a season 2, if I'm not mistaken, and that was like a year ago.
That was the one of the first things that got announced. Like along with the Mandalorian. I mean, it's been
new live action shows.
Right. That's been in the works since the very beginning of when they started their own television productions.
Yeah. Fortunately, Diego Luna seems to have drunk from the Fountain of Youth.
Right.
Because he looks phenomenal, and it's a prequel in itself.
Yeah.
To Rogue One. Him playing his character, of course, or his character of Cassian Andor. So we did finally get a trailer for that. Granted, it's more of a teaser. It's 1:45. It's not even 2 minutes long.
Right. And it's really light on any kind of story content because you have no idea what's going on.
Yeah. So, and we also we'll get to this, we also did get a Season 2 Bad Batch trailer. We're going to talk about that next. And I have like an overarching thing to talk about with that I want to get into. But first off, the Andor trailer. Rob, what do you think?
I mean, I don't know what to say yet. I mean, it looks good.
Yeah.
In terms of the visuals, I really don't have anything other to say than that because there's really no kind of context other than the typical, Empire versus Rebellion sort of fare.
Yeah. We are getting Mon Mothma, it looked like.
Yeah.
And that probably excited me the most out of it.
Yeah.
Was getting more of her character because we've never, and this has been true, even in the old EU, even in those novels, I never felt like they fully developed as much as she would be in Darksaber or the Heir to the Empire trilogy or whatever. You always just got more of that character who was in Return of the Jedi. You didn't really get expansion on the character. You got some history of who she was, but you just never really got a whole lot. And you certainly never got much of her, I don't think, of what her life was like pre the Star Wars trilogy. In fact, the most we might have gotten was in the game that our podcast namesake comes from, which is Star Wars TIE Fighter.
Yeah, I was actually just going to say that. I feel like the most you really kind of, I feel, get into her character actually was in the Farlander papers that came with the original X-Wing game.
Oh, yes. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because she wrote, like basically a mission statement of New Republic.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, agreed. So basically, X-Wing and TIE Fighter were like the two areas where I felt like we got the most history of her character.
Right.
So, I applaud this. Just like when we saw her in, the trailer for Rogue One, back when that was going to be a new hotness, I applauded that. I was like, yes, good. And awesome that they got the same actress who played her, of course, or who was supposed to play her in Episode 3. Of course, her character got cut from that.
Right.
But they brought in that actress. It is her again in Andor, I do believe.
Yeah.
And so, like, that excites me. But again, we don't really have a whole lot here. But what I saw wasn't bad. I didn't see anything that was, like, really a problem.
No.
In the trailer.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Right.
Like I said, visually it's stunning. It looks great.
Yeah. So, I guess I'll bring up this point here, even though it might apply to both. The show is called Star Wars Andor. But I would not be surprised, honestly, if we get a bit of a bait and switch, where it's not so much about Andor, it is more about setting up Mon Mothma than anything else. And this is going to be part of the conversation later on with Obi-Wan Kenobi, but I want to put a pin on it here, in that I very much feel like Obi-Wan Kenobi is a bait and switch show. Like
Yeah, because it's not like Disney's never done that before.
Yeah, right.
Boba Fett.
Yeah, because I think, right, exactly. Boba Fett is about, frankly, other characters than it is Boba Fett.
Right. I mean, honestly, the best we've said this before, but the best episodes of that series was like the ones that Boba Fett didn't even appear in.
Yeah, that were all about Din Djarin, or whoever else.
Or Luke Skywalker.
Right. So you take a big name, a big ticket character like Boba Fett, or in the case of Obi-Wan Kenobi, like Obi-Wan, but then you end up turning it into a show about Reva. And, well, anyway, excuse me. Moving on. So, anyway, I do wonder if this is going to be a bait and switch where, okay, like Rogue One was hot, so make a show about a Rogue One character that you can make a show about, which Andor is a character that you could. And K2SO was a big deal. I imagine we're going to get some of that somehow. I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be nice if we get like an origin story on that character.
Yeah, well, I mean, you kind of did with the comic book. There was that one shot that somewhat explained their, how they came to be. But regardless, I would not be surprised if this turns into the Mon Mothma show. Even though it's going to go multiple seasons, even then I still think it could. But if you do that, I'm not going to complain. In this case, I'm not going to complain that much. A, because I don't have as much invested in the character of Cassian Andor as I do, say, Obi-Wan Kenobi, where if you're going to name the show Obi-Wan, it better be fucking about Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
But that's... Anyway, we'll put a pin on that. Go ahead if you got something.
Well, I mean, it's not only that. Like, the fact that we have a Season 2 already confirmed is kind of astounding, given, like, other than The Mandalorian, they're not committing to any further seasons of any of these shows they've been doing.
Yeah, like I don't think Acolyte, go down the list.
Yeah, we're not. I don't think we're getting a second season of Obi-Wan. I don't think we're getting a second season of Boba Fett.
Right.
So...
Speaking of Acolyte, that's a show that should have... There should have been a trailer. Or there should have been something. And
I don't think it's that far in development.
Even if it was concept art, they should have showed it.
Yeah.
But Disney, Disney is such a clusterfuck that I think they're terrified of showing pre-production anything. Like, when's the last time I saw a real making special? They'll do Disney Gallery, which is crap because it's just people sitting around a round table.
Yeah.
They don't really show you the making, not really. So they're terrified to show you that because they don't want you to know, just how bad it is.
I mean, Disney Gallery is kind of, I would say, in the terms of a making of special, it's kind of crap. Not that the episodes themselves are always crap. I mean, we've got some pretty cool gems out of Dave Filoni, waxing poetic on prequels.
Well, I mean, you get Dave Filoni talking, and I don't care what it is. I'm sitting down and I'm watching, and it's, and basically, it's like in the Bible. It's the little number next to the verse where you can look at the commentary down at the bottom. Like Dave Filoni is like rabbi commentary for Star Wars. So,
right.
That's
right.
fine. Like I won't complain about that. But at the same time, we haven't had a proper making special, a proper one. I don't remember the last time.
Yeah.
We were lucky enough to get like a director's commentary out of J.J. Abrams for one of the releases of The Force Awakens on disc. But even that, whatever.
Well, you got to admit, there's probably not much of a demand for a making of those movies.
No. They did that quote-unquote making special for Episode 9, for Rise of Skywalker, but that was basically like a music video. That wasn't even like really a making special. That was crap.
I don't even know how you could do a making of that movie, considering what a clusterfuck that production was.
Yeah, openly it was, because they tell you they were editing on the fly.
Yeah.
So
not just editing, but they were making script adjustments on the fly.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And the same deal was happening with Solo.
They had writers, on staff during filming.
Yeah.
That's how bad it was.
Yeah. So I don't ever expect that.
No, I don't even want it. Like I said, I don't think there's the demand there for it.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about the concept artwork we got to see even in Book of Boba Fett during the end credits, as well as The Mandalorian. Like, if you made a trailer out of that, like, I would have been losing my mind without seeing a single bit of live action before those shows came out. They should do that sort of thing, just to show that yes, ideas are on the table, but they don't, because they're fucking morons. So
just look at the Rise of Skywalker concept art book, which is just a total shit show.
Yeah,
and we know, because it's all been leaked now, that there was way more concept art.
Right. There was a book version that supposedly got released in Korea that they literally had to pull from the shelves and went and did some book burning.
Right.
It's crazy. Yeah. So, well, anyway, I thought there should have been something from Acolyte, because it's just going to be such a big deal, I think, in joining High Republic and the Phantom Menace.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I'm not optimistic about this series.
Well, pin on that, because when it comes to what we've gotten from Obi-Wan, I'll be honest, I'm not excited for much of anything outside of whatever's, coming out of Jon Favreau's ass.
Right.
So, anyway, asking about excitement, though, here's something I might be excited for. Bad Batch Season 2. We did get a trailer for this. Again, more of a teaser. Only a minute and 13 seconds long. We got practically nothing.
Right.
What are your thoughts on the Bad Batch Season 2 trailer?
They're just really cementing this series as A-Team in space.
Yeah, which again, as I said from the beginning, I have no complaints about that.
Right.
The A-Team is one of my favorite shows of all time, easily in my top 10. So.
The only thing in that trailer that kind of made me go, ooh, was the fact that we saw that the Wookiee Padawan from the Clone Wars survived.
Oh, lightsabers out. Yeah, that was cool. That was really, really cool. Let me ask you this. This is just a question that popped to my mind. Because this is the same thing, where it's a little light on content.
Right.
Like, you don't know really what's going to happen.
No.
Sure, what they showed looked exciting, like the Wookiee. But how do you feel about, because this is going to come up during the Obi-Wan conversation, I think. How do you feel about there being actually so many Jedi really still around after the Purge, and after, and during the time of the Galactic Empire, as to where I feel like 20 years ago, we essentially thought, okay, like Luke or Obi-Wan and Luke are two of a kind. There really aren't any other Jedi out there.
It's funny you used that word.
What's that?
Purge, because there was a series of comics put out by Dark Horse Comics called Purge.
Right. Well, I think, yeah, but like the idea of the Jedi Purge, I think that might be kind of an official term. Like you have Purge Troopers, right?
Right.
From Fallen Order.
Right.
That are canon now. In fact, we saw them in Obi-Wan, which is great. I think they have a great look. But how do you feel about like there being so many Jedi now?
I guess I've become comfortable with it. I think Rebels established that as a possibility
with
of
Kanan Jarrus.
Right,
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I think they've established that, and they even put a pin on that. But we're going to just discuss something from Obi-Wan.
Does it begin with a Q? No, okay.
no. But
we'll
I
get
mean,
to that.
yeah, we'll get to that. But I mean, shoot, I lost my train of thought.
Sorry, man. But anyway. But I mean, how do you feel about it? Like you said, you're comfortable with it?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with it.
Okay.
It doesn't bother me at this point.
Sure. Yeah, a part of me actually it definitely changes things for me. Because now really Luke isn't as special. But I do feel like he's special in a different way now, because effectively, like, you have all of these other Jedi that really are still out there. Luke isn't that unique, nor is Obi-Wan. Maybe by the time of A New Hope, they're a little more rare, and we're just experiencing characters that all have to die at some point between now and the time of A New Hope.
I do think that by the time of like Return of the Jedi, they're probably largely gone or all deep underground and in hiding and all, like you. Traumatized and messed up, like they're either dead or not. They're not willing to stick their necks out there because the Darth Vader and the Inquisitores have done such a good job of hunting people down.
Yeah, well, so I think, and how I think it becomes more special, is, and especially if either happened where they just like went underground, put their heads in the sand, whatever. Luke ends up becoming what the Jedi should have been, and they lost their way even in the Phantom Menace. Because if they're all like hiding and just scared to death, Luke is the one who's out there being so courageous and, again, fulfilling more of what the Jedi perhaps should have been.
Yeah. But still falling into some of the old traps if we go by...
At times.
Yeah, like that bullshit decision he put to Grogu of choosing between, the lightsaber and the Mandalorian armor.
Yeah, still making mistakes.
Yeah.
But, it puts him in an even more special class of, say, Kanan Jarrus, of Ahsoka Tano, where, we're the ones that are still going to be out there and doing what we have to do.
Right.
And I dig that. And in fact, I'm even more excited now for the character of Ezra. His potential return.
Right.
I don't even think it's potential now. I think it's more or less confirmed. And see what he does.
Right.
And honestly, I'm hoping he's the one that carries on the Jedi Order ultimately. Considering what happens well, who knows? Like, because where is he during Episode 9?
Right.
And
right. Well, I mean, the running theory is that the space whales took him and Thrawn out into the unknown regions.
Right.
Which they could have been embroiled in matters out there that we're not even aware of.
Yeah.
For however long.
Yeah.
But I do think that's interesting. And something that just occurred to me is, what if, Ezra comes back and ends up being the one that trains Kanan's son, Jason.
Yeah. Well, I would love that. I mean, I think it'd be, we're certainly veering way off a Bad Batch.
Yeah.
but I think it'd be awesome. I mean, another way to heal post Episode 9, and heal the bullshit story they created. I would have, basically just transpose the Jedi versus the Empire, transpose that to wherever the hell the Purgles took. Is that what they call it, the space whales?
Mm-hmm.
Just transpose that to whatever part of the galaxy they happen to be in. Thrawn's running an empire out there, like
right.
the Hand of Thrawn.
Right.
And, or like Baron Fell's empire, whatever. And have that versus Ezra's, all these Jedi that he trained out there. And then have them come back, to the core. And go ahead.
I'll do you even one better.
Yeah, sure.
You have a three-way going between, the Chiss Empire and whatever Ezra's going on
right.
and the Sith Eternal.
Oh, that'd be phenomenal. But, have Ezra, and like I'd love it if like Ezra and Rey, and I'm fine with Rey coming back, even if what's her name won't come back.
Yeah, Daisy Ridley.
Even if Daisy Ridley won't come back.
Yeah, right.
But I'm totally fine with like there being like Rey and Ezra, like starting this new Jedi Order essentially, even beyond where Luke screwed up.
Yeah,
I think that'd be phenomenal.
Well, I've had my own theory about that. I mean, I don't even think. I think to a certain degree they are going to follow through with Luke kind of saying that it's time for the Jedi to end. Mm-hmm. I my theory is that going forward is that Skywalker is going to become not so much a name but a title,
like it is in the Chiss Ascendancy.
Yeah,
because it is a title in the Chiss Ascendancy.
Right. That's
interesting.
Right.
That's very interesting. Okay. Wow.
That way, I think you could have people, it's not such a big deal that Rey takes on the name Skywalker, because if it becomes more of a title, if you're using that to replace the Jedi, because they saw that model of doing things was broken and didn't work.
Yeah.
So they need to start with something new. So why not have the Order of the Skywalkers?
Yeah, even like get rid of the term like Jedi Master.
Exactly.
Yeah. And just have it be Skywalker. What a legacy that would make. I would love that. Wow, that's a great idea. $1 million ideas here from Rob, as always, on this show. And, well, we'll see if Disney's listening. But anyway, that's fantastic. So, well, let's bring it back to Bad Batch quick. Unless you got more you want to extrapolate on with that. Because that's getting into the Ahsoka show, which I know there were some announcements around that with, at Celebration.
Yeah. Well, we also got the announcement of a new show, Tales of the Jedi.
Right. Yes, that's true. Maybe some of that we'll get into that as we get more details and maybe get release trailers.
Yeah, like we don't have much to go on there other than it's going to be sort of like a montage sort of show where it's not like
it's more anthology.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like a Twilight Zone.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, well, I could dig that as long as we get Nomi Sunrider somewhere. I'm good. But anyway.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, from what I understood, it was going to be actually concentrating on the Jedi from like the pre-Clone Wars era.
Oh, so it'd be more closer to High Republic?
Well, there's supposed to be an episode about like baby Ahsoka.
Oh, okay.
And so we're talking
Phantom Menace.
Yeah. So you're either Phantom Menace or pre-Phantom Menace.
Yeah. Okay. I can dig. I can get behind that. All right. Well, so let's bring. Well, if we're good, let's bring it back to Bad Batch quick.
Right.
And then we'll get into Obi-Wan here. And I think there's a question that we have that we're going to have to get into, and we actually have an awesome fan production to talk about as well.
Right.
But we'll get into that as we go along. So with Bad Batch. So with these trailers, not really revealing much. Now, I mean, I don't know how involved Filoni is with Bad Batch. In my opinion, I don't think Filoni seems to be involved at all with Andor or Obi-Wan, really. And I don't know.
Yeah, it's not really part of what we would call the Filoniverse.
Right. Part of this like slightly post Return of the Jedi era.
Right.
But anyway, here's the thought that's coming out for me, and this will probably lead into our conversation around Obi-Wan. And that is, knowing what I know of Disney, I had the... I want to be careful with my terms, but I'm going to use unfortunate just for the sake of the conversation. I had the unfortunate opportunity to experience a lot of Disney content from the mid-aughts, from like 2005 up until about when I moved to New Hampshire. So I had like 5, 6, 7 years, something like that, of experiencing Disney shows. And we're talking about Hannah Montana, the High School Musical movies.
Oh, wow.
Wizards of Waverly Place, all this bullshit, okay?
Yeah, so I've seen none of that.
All right, well, yeah, okay. So I experienced all this crap. And here's what I effectively learned. And I didn't realize it until I was kind of analyzing, what the fuck is Disney doing with Star Wars? Disney does not really, they don't know how to make genuinely deep material. They know how to make fluffy... and this thought just kind of struck me earlier today, actually, so it's not exactly fully formed, but I want to bring it up. Like, they know how to make something where, okay, something kind of occurs, but then nothing actually really changes and nothing actually really matters. Like, you watch episodes of Hannah Montana, Wizards of Waverly Place, or whatever, and if Ellen was here, I'm sure she could confirm some of this stuff, because she got tortured with it as well, if I remember. But I feel like Star Wars is going through this as well. Not just on live action shows, but also in cartoons, comics, and books, where, yeah, things are happening, but nothing's really happening. Like, nothing really matters.
We've talked about this for a long time, kind of like right from the opening gates of the new continuity with the books.
Yeah.
And we're saying, none of this has the scope of a Thrawn trilogy or anything like that, where, like, events happen that actually change the scope and shape of the Star Wars universe.
Right. There's nothing of consequence in it.
Right.
Now, Disney are masters of making shows, making content that has no consequence, but is still wildly popular and has fans. Like, they're just masters of this, because that's basically what they've done most of their existence.
Yeah.
The last time they tried to make something of consequence, I want to say, was like maybe the Black Cauldron, and that almost bankrupted the company in the 80s. So, like, I'm actually really, like, when this clicked for me, I was actually really terrified, because all I can think is, holy shit, like, they're just going by how they have made content for decades.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's not going to change, because it's actually successful for them. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed this myself, and I'm gonna maybe this is another Robism, but it's sci-fi fast food. It can taste really fucking good.
Yeah.
But is it good for you?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. All right. So I hear you. That term has been applied actually to Star Wars in the 70s, where they call it fast food science fiction.
Yeah.
And I remember specifically actually it being applied by Harlan Ellison to the movie Independence Day. So here's the thing.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So and I love that movie. I fucking love it.
I know.
All right. So here's the thing. Fast food science, like fast food, as somebody who is also, sadly, I was an artisan of fast food. We'll put it that way. I have a long history in fast food, but we're not gonna go into that here. I just understand it super well. So here's the thing: fast food relies upon the odd, right? It's like the strange flavored Dorito. You're only going to buy it once, and so they only release it for a limited time anyway, because it's all about the novelty. That's what sells it to you, is the novelty. Fast food wholly relies on, like think of the McRib, okay? The McRib sells like gangbusters. Why? Because it's not always available. It's not always out there. So, and fast food thrives on these, like, rare things, like Wendy's with the bacon mushroom melt. Star Wars, here's the problem. Like, I think your assessment is totally right. It is sci-fi fast food. That is a perfect description of what's going on with Star Wars, certainly right now. I would not say Episode 1 or, like, the prequel trilogy was not sci-fi fast food. I'd say it was quite the opposite, more so than anything else. What do you think about that statement?
So going back to what you were talking about before, I think if you talk about Star Wars in the 1980s, ending with Return of the Jedi, I can see how Harlan or somebody else could, define Star Wars as sci-fi fast food. But we've talked about this many times before, and really where we fell in love with Star Wars is when they started deepening the universe with the expanded universe, with the RPG books, with the games, the
everything
comic
outside
books,
of the movies.
Exactly, and that's really what changed it into not fast food.
Right. Okay. Perfect. Yes. But this is sci-fi fast food, and the problem is that, like, it's okay for Star Wars to be sci-fi fast food, but when there's so goddamn much of it, it loses that McRib quality. And so
that's the funny thing about it too, because you talk about novelty, but the other thing fast food, oddly enough, depends on is a kind of nostalgia and like addiction to a particular flavor or something like McRibs. Like they only come out with these, every so often, but it's something that people have like. The taste is ingrained in their memory from childhood.
Yes.
And so when it does come out, people go, oh, God, I want more of that.
Yeah, nostalgia's totally mixed in. You're absolutely right.
Right. And that's the same thing Star Wars is depending on here, too.
Right. But, again, the problem is there's so much Star Wars, and it's still being made in fast food fashion.
Right.
That you end up hating it, And you're just like, well, I never want to go to Wendy's again, or I never want to go to McDonald's again, or whatever, you know? And so that's a problem, but that's the MO Disney's operating under. So it's a great analogy, Rob. I mean, I think you're totally right. Again, I am now for me. That's not like a carte blanche, or what's the term I'm looking for? Whatever. It's
rebuke.
It's not like a blanket rebuke of all fast food science fiction. There's lots of fast food science fiction I love. There's fast food movies, quote unquote, that I love.
Right.
But you have to keep them rare. Like you can't build an entire franchise on that model.
Right.
Eventually, it's going to bite you in the ass. So.
Well, we're seeing some of that.
We are. Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. So I guess let's go ahead and get right into Obi-Wan.
Yep.
Is this fast food science fiction, Rob?
Oh, hardcore. I mean,
hardcore. We're 4 episodes deep. Okay. And so you're saying hardcore.
This is the Big Mac of Star Wars fast food.
Obi-Wan is the Big Mac.
It doesn't even taste good.
No. That 1,000 Islands dressing, it's not enough to highlight it.
No, not at all.
Obi-Wan is the 1,000 Island. He is the secret sauce of the Big Mac, and it's just not happening.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. Actually, I'll say this just outright. And I don't think we need to do a breakdown of episode for episode.
No.
Overall, this is an incredibly poorly written show, and in my opinion, and not only that, when you look in the credits, some of these episodes, there's 4, 5, 6 writers, and I'm like, why? And that scares me because something like this, a 6-episode miniseries, needs vision.
Yep.
You can't have vision with that many writers.
Well, especially when you're dealing with, the staple characters of the franchise, like Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Leia.
Yeah. Okay, I don't even know where to start with this because there's so much to say. I guess let's try and break it down quickly, and then we can get it more overarching. But let's break it down by the numbers. Deborah Chow is directing here. That initially excited us.
Yes.
Okay, because she did a great job on Mandalorian.
Right, yeah, what was it, season 1, episode 2 or 3 was just phenomenal.
Yeah, it was awesome. I don't think the direction, I don't really have a problem with that. I think she's doing fine on that end.
Yeah, it's the writing.
Yeah, it's the writing.
I was worried about this to begin with because, there were news stories, confirmed news stories came out that, they had delayed production of this show because basically they had replaced all the writers and started over from scratch.
Yeah, I'd love to see what that previous story was.
Yeah, right. I mean, how much worse or better could have it been?
Right. So, I'm really wondering, who's the showrunner here? Like I say, I mean, we have the director. We have Deborah Chow. The writing, the writing team seems massive on this, which I don't recall episodes of Mandalorian having multiple writers. So I'm really wondering, whose baby is this? Is it Deborah Chow's? Who's really calling the shots? Who's the person? I mean, ultimately it's Kathleen Kennedy, who said, "Hey, that previous writing team that we fired, whose call was that?" And who's deciding?
It's a good question.
Yeah,
I really have no idea. I mean, it definitely seems like this is a production that could have a case of too many cooks.
Yeah, too many cooks in the kitchen. Yeah, absolutely. But Deborah Chow's directing is fine. I guess let's talk about the actors a bit. Ewan McGregor, how do you feel about his comeback?
I mean, yeah, he still does a good Obi-Wan.
Sure.
I think he's I expected him to be, different from the prequel Obi-Wan, but at the same time, I wasn't expecting him to be like this rundown.
Yeah, because he doesn't seem to have lost a lick in A New Hope, other than being old.
Yeah. Right.
He's
or
still,
even in Rebels. I mean,
when he takes on Maul.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Good point. It's strange. Yeah, like I was not expecting. Same with you. I was not expecting him to be this rundown.
Although, referencing that Maul, fight in Rebels.
Yeah. We made fun of Obi-Wan. Shit, the cops are coming. Lucasfilm sent us. Yeah.
But there's something that Obi-Wan says in that fight where Maul says, look what you've become, and Obi-Wan says, look what I've overcome.
Yeah.
So I mean, I feel like there's room for like Obi-Wan having some sort of fall and redemption arc.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, that's getting into more of the story, or we'll be getting into more of the story. I think we can kind of hold on that. I mean, I think Ewan McGregor is doing a fine job for what he's told to do.
Right.
He's a great actor.
Right.
I rarely want to blame. We'll talk about some of the other actors. I rarely want to blame the actor because ultimately it comes down to what is the producer, what is the writer, what is the director or writers, or what does the director want. They're the people who call those shots. The actors just kind of deliver on that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm going to change my mind a little bit on that in a second, or kind of bend that rule. But yeah, I thought Ewan McGregor was doing great. Sung Kang being in this, who is best known as Han from, not the Solo movie, but from the Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
He's playing Fifth Brother in this, which it's cool to have him as a live-action character now after his role in Rebels.
Unfortunately, he looks nothing like the character in Rebels.
No, he does not. They didn't do coded Asian in Rebels either.
No,
so
I mean,
it's weird.
The guy was kind of a beefcake.
Yes. Yeah.
In Rebels.
Yeah. And kind of an idiot, and he is not
right.
that in
Yeah.
this.
No. Yeah. He's way more ambitious.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, he seemed to be playing, second fiddle to was it? I forget the name of the one that Sarah Michelle Gellar played.
Oh, Ninth Sister.
Ninth Sister. Yeah.
Yes.
He seemed to be playing second fiddle to Ninth Sister in Rebels.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I'm disappointed. Like.
Where is she?
Yeah, where's Ninth Sister?
Uh-huh.
Like, and Sarah Michelle Gellar, you already have her husband, Freddie Prinze Jr., doing tons of shit in this. That's probably why she even got the role in Rebels, which, I mean, she's Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I mean, great actress. This could have brought in a huge fan base if you brought her in live action. I don't know why they didn't do that.
Yeah.
I think that's strange, because they do have a female Inquisitor. It's just not Ninth Sister.
Yeah.
Well, they actually have two female Inquisitors. We'll get to the other one in a minute.
There's a lot of decisions like this show. I mean, let's just go ahead and say it. Like, why the fuck didn't they get Jason Isaacs to reprise his role as the Grand Inquisitor?
Yeah, I mean, what do you think of, like, I agree. Not that Rupert Friend necessarily is doing a bad job as the Grand Inquisitor in this, but he's not Jason Isaacs.
And he's not. I wouldn't even say he's doing a great job. I mean, I'm sorry, but like, he did an interview, and he's another one of these people who seems to think their superpower is not watching Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
Because he said he specifically avoided any of the content from Rebels when that character, appeared before, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know how you view that as being able to help you in your role.
Which is the exact opposite of what Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor did. They specifically came out and said, no, we went back and we watched. We wanted to know.
Yeah.
And I feel like I can see some of... was that Stanton that did the voice of... I think it was Stephen Stanton that did the voice of Obi-Wan in Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're getting some of that flourish. Because Stanton has a style for Obi-Wan that's kind of unique. And I really feel like we're getting that in this. And so I think this is another area where Ewan McGregor is totally delivering in this show as an actor, and and giving a shit overall. So I think that's preposterous that someone says, well, okay, this character existed before, but I don't even want to know. I don't want to see how they did it, because I want to bring, I guess, maybe their style to it, but that's an insult to the franchise,
right?
You know, and in many ways to the fans,
right?
I guess I want to get to the elephant in the room, but let's go down the list a little bit more. So we did get more of Uncle Owen, right? Played by Joel Edgerton,
and that was good.
He was good.
Yeah.
He was very good.
Yeah. For
somebody who had a bit part, he came in like he's the biggest thing in the franchise, and I thought it was awesome. And I thought he put Obi-Wan in his place.
Oh, did he?
Yeah,
he smoked him.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. I was shocked at how good he was. You know, definitely one of the highlights of this series.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say this: Episode 1 and Episode 2 of Obi-Wan, I was like, oh, this could be a pretty cool show.
Yeah,
you know, like I was feeling very hopeful.
Yeah, I feel like the first episode was, you know, a little slow in hitting its pace, but by the second episode, I was feeling the same. Like, you know, okay, this is going somewhere.
Right. Speaking of those episodes, we did get more Jimmy Smits as Bail Organa.
Yeah.
I thought he was awesome.
Jimmy Smits is always awesome.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like, he really, I mean, you could tell.
I mean, I've loved him since the 80s when he was doing that show, L.A. Law.
Or wait, was he in L.A. Law?
Yeah.
He was in NYPD Blue.
Yeah.
He did L.A. Law before? I didn't even realize that.
Yep.
I remember him from NYPD Blue. But you're right. He's always been great.
Yeah.
Just an awesome guy. I mean, his return in Rogue One was fucking epic. And to have him here in Obi-Wan as well.
Yeah, you talk about a guy who doesn't age.
Yeah, well, I wondered if they did a little de-aging tech on him.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, because he looked, it was just kind of around the eyes. It looked a little, I don't know, but it doesn't matter. He was phenomenal.
Right.
And I hope we get more of him. And he's another person who really took Obi-Wan to task, and I was glad for it. I thought that was so cool. And then, of course, you know, why is Bail Organa here? Well, it's because we are also joined by, surprise, Leia Organa.
Right.
As basically, barely a 10-year-old?
Yeah.
And the actress, that being Vivian Lyra Blair, this has been a controversial choice, apparently, within the fandom. I cannot imagine why. What do you got?
No, neither can I. I think she's doing a great job as Leia. I mean, she's got the attitude. Yep. She seems wise beyond her years.
Yes, she does.
And honestly, like, if you're angry at a 10-year-old on television, seek therapy.
Yes, that is the perfect response. Yeah, because there's a lot of people complaining, saying, "Oh, she's not, you know, delivering. She's not this, whatever."
Whatever.
I don't get it. Like,
No.
I think she's doing fine. Okay, she's not like a super young Drew Barrymore or Haley Joel Osment or whatever. I don't know, but she's a fine actress.
Yeah.
You know, and is totally believable. I've had no problem with Leia Organa being in this. In fact, I was wondering this whole time, like, what's the thing that can get Obi-Wan off of Tatooine and away from Luke Skywalker?
Right.
Well, honestly, there's only one thing, and that's his sister.
Right.
And so I was like, well, of course, this is exactly what they had to do. So kudos at least there on the writing team, on Disney, for they came up with the most logical option of what could get Obi-Wan off of Tatooine.
I somehow feel that, like, if we were able to compare the old scripts with the ones that we have in the show, that would probably be the one consistent factor.
Yes. Yeah. Because, again, logically, it's just about the only thing you could do. Because a revenge plot would make no sense.
No.
You know, against like a revenge plot against Maul or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, that really wouldn't make sense and would, frankly, like, shit on George Lucas even harder than Disney already
Well, it's
has.
shit on you know, his later appearance in Rebels.
Right.
Because we know he's been hunting for him for a very long time, you know, since the Clone Wars. So, you know, just kind of like reintroducing that factor and rehashing this all over again is superfluous.
Yeah, you know, you say that, and it made me think of something. It's one of the most beautiful things that I've ever heard by one of the most beautiful men I've ever known. Not personally, unfortunately, as much as I'd love to. That being Sam Witwer. I mean, beautiful man. In every fucking way. Whew, sorry. Turn that air conditioner up. No. But Sam Witwer gave this, he was like at a convention or something, and he gave this explanation of, you know, when Maul dies in Star Wars Rebels, and he's, you know, killed by Obi-Wan. And he gives us a description of the power of that moment, not for Maul, but for Obi-Wan, in that Tatooine was Obi-Wan's last post. Like, this is this Jedi's last post, his last mission. And I mean, and even now I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. Like, it just gives you chills when Sam Witwer is explaining this. And you can hear, like, Filoni and him obviously talked about it, and he's just like, putting it out there. Obi-Wan's, like, lack of skill, frankly, feels contradictory. His lack of skill in the show, Obi-Wan, feels contradictory to the beautiful explanation that Sam Witwer gave to what Obi-Wan is doing on Tatooine, and ultimately what happens with Rebels. I'm not going to say it's it's not a contradiction, but it just doesn't feel the same, and I feel like it kind of sullies that moment. What do you got?
I'm gonna disagree with that because I did mention this earlier. I think there is room in here, like I said, for a sort of a fallen redemption arc for Obi-Wan in this time period.
Okay.
I think the events of this show, whether we end up liking it or not in its fullness, provides Obi-Wan with the kind of like kick in the ass that he needed to become that person that we see in A New Hope and in Rebels.
Yeah, I could see that. The problem, we only have 6 episodes. We're 4 episodes. You're right. You could do that, and it would make sense. That's why I don't want to say it's a contradiction. My issue is we're like 4 episodes deep, and I don't think we're getting enough exploration. Like this, I don't even feel like this is the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. For me, it's like turned into the either Leia show or, worse, the Reva show.
Right.
And this flows, I'll expand on this more a little later, but this flows into what I think is the real elephant in the room, and that is Moses Ingram, as far as actors in this production. Her casting as third sister, and which is her real name is Reva. Oh boy, because this is like a powder keg topic.
Yeah.
Okay. I would hope this would be obvious for people who have listened to us for years and years and years, have listened to me for a decade strong. This has zero to do with racism. Okay? Like, nothing to do with... Like, I don't have a problem with the fact that she's black. I think it's insane that there are people who still, like, really argue about a casting choice based upon the person's, like, race. They're out there, I'm sure. Bigots are, of course, still out there.
Yep.
Racism is still prevalent. I'm not
Yep.
saying it's not.
Yep.
But I'm just saying, like, don't put that on me if I take issue with this character and the acting of this actress, Moses Ingram. Because this is another person who I think it's abundantly clear she did not watch Star Wars. She didn't just, sure, she didn't have a reference to look back on, how should I act with this character? Like, she just has never seen Star Wars. Because, and I said this from the first episode, like, she does not act like a dark side character. Like, there is a way that seemingly, especially the Inquisitors, which we have plenty of reference material for, there is a way that, like, Sith/dark side/ Imperial characters act. She is not bringing that to the table.
No,
she is. Go ahead.
So I'm going to disagree with you a little.
Okay, go for it.
I do think this has something to do with race, but not in the way that you're thinking about it.
Okay.
And I really hesitate to bring this up, but unfortunately what she is bringing to the table is kind of an ugly stereotype, and it's not the first time Disney has done this.
Nah. Oh, yeah, okay. I know where you're going to go, and I agree. Keep going.
And the more conspiratorial, part of my mind almost wonders if Disney's doing this on purpose in order to, create, controversy and discussion, and basically, it's kind of like
cheap heat marketing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Cheap heat, like there's no such thing as bad,
bad
PR.
press, yep.
Right, exactly. But yeah, you had, and I can't remember her name, the character in the show Resistance. and
oh yes,
yeah, the
who was the spy for the pirates or whatever, right?
No. The mechanic, the female mechanic that was working on the platform, that ends up joining the Empire.
Oh yeah, well, she like ended up being. I know who you're talking about. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
But she was basically bringing the same kind of, and I hesitate to say, if not stereotype, archetype.
Yes.
Which is, the angry, person of color.
Yeah.
Female person of color.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I think if there's any racism going on, it's on Disney's part.
Yeah.
For continuing to use that stereotype.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that for a second, because I think you're completely right. If anyone's being racist, it's not so much the Star Wars fandom; it's Disney themselves. They have a horrible history of the way that they treat black characters, frankly, in general, but in Star Wars, it's bad.
Yeah.
Lando Calrissian, like, they have to make, like, him be this, like, sex hungry, like, whatever, card playing smuggler, whatever. Like, they're always making these characters, I don't know, somehow, even if they're like the good guy, they're the bad guy.
Yeah.
And there's a real problem in that. And they also, they've had like major black female characters before. They had one in Solo, and they touted her initially as such, but then like they just kill her off.
Right.
Like on the set, not even in the script.
Which is a huge problem in science fiction in general.
Yeah. There are videos out there that explore this far better than we can right now, about the racism that Disney has employed in Star Wars since they took over, and particularly with black characters, they are not treating with respect, let alone what they did to Kelly Marie Tran. I mean, it's hilarious that they're like, oh, the fans hated Kelly Marie Tran. Are you kidding me? What did you do to her in episode 9? You fucked her, not not the fans.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, the fans initially did have a rather kind of disgusting response to her. But by Disney cutting her role in episode 9 means they were kowtowing to that segment of the fandom.
Yeah, or look what they did to John Boyega.
Which is a wrong move. Oh, yeah.
And John Boyega came, don't take it from us. John Boyega says, no, Disney fucked me.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, we said from the very beginning when we were, when you reviewed The Force Awakens, and you and I had discussions about this, is like, his character had more potential than any of the other ones. And they just, they wasted. There was such wasted potential.
Totally dropped the ball. And they turned, fucking Ryan Johnson, turned him into the comic relief. Basically turned him into Martin Lawrence in the second movie when, and you gave, like, a fantastic, you have this awesome opportunity to comment on, like, perhaps PTSD or the military machine and all this, because here's a guy who broke out of it and what all this means, and they didn't run with any of it.
No.
You fuckheads. Other than Trevorrow was going to.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. In his original script for episode 9, but of course maybe that's why Disney's like, oh no, you're going to treat black characters with respect. Get out. You know what I mean? Like that. That's kind of how it felt. This is at the same time. We got to talk about Reva more because.
Well, I just want to end it by saying I don't know if this is a conscious decision on the part of the people in Disney, but whether it is or isn't, it is an actual problem and it needs to be addressed.
And it's consistent across multiple productions.
And I don't feel like anybody is talking about it.
No. If anything, they're just hiding behind this
they're
news
playing.
Story
Exactly.
Right
they're
now.
Playing into the narrative that Disney and the press is putting out.
Right. Which, again, I think an easy case could be made for how racist Disney themselves are.
Yeah.
So bringing it back, my complaints about the character of Reva and the acting of Moses Ingram, has nothing to do with that. It is completely about Star Wars, the tapestry that is Star Wars, and the language and poetry that is Star Wars. She does not fit in, not because of any of that. Actually, as far as I can tell, Moses Ingram is a phenomenal actress. She's amazing, classically trained, the whole thing. But that's the problem. She's bringing that and not Star Wars to Star Wars. Like there is a way that you engage Star Wars, and she's not doing that.
Yeah.
And then let's get to the other parts here. Like I think this character is just preposterous in that there's somebody who knows that Darth Vader is Anakin Skywalker. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, no. When Tarkin and Thrawn, the two most powerful people in the universe next to Palpatine and Vader himself, they can only suspect, but she just knows?
Right.
Oh, man. I mean, where are the Mary Sue cries here? Like,
Why hasn't Vader killed her already?
Yeah, how does
even
he not
knowing
know?
this?
How does he not know that she knows?
Yeah.
Like, granted, he didn't kill Thrawn when Thrawn kind of confronted him about this. But, it's Thrawn.
It's Thrawn, and two, that's a case, I think, where, even Vader would have to answer to Daddy Palpatine.
Yeah, exactly. And it's still one of the best moments in recent Star Wars novels, I think, when Thrawn, confronts him about it.
Right.
This character just... And again, I'm not blaming Moses Ingram here, okay? I think Disney made some poor choices, or the writers or whoever made some exceptionally poor choices in this case. And I feel like she's a very annoying character. Now, there's an argument to be made that she's meant to be annoying, but...
Well, I mean, we're not supposed to like her.
Well, right.
She's a villain. And not only that, like we said, she's a villain playing into a kind of terrible archetype.
Yes, but... Yeah, but also, we only have 2 more episodes. We're not getting enough of, wait, how the fuck does she know all this shit? What is her deal? This should have been covered in episode, 3.
Yeah.
Out of 6?
Yeah. Well, even the most recent episode, you get the impression she's playing some sort of game, even with Vader.
Right. Okay. Yeah. No, I agree with you. This character just sucks.
Yeah.
It's nothing against Moses Ingram. Okay, and the only problem I have with Moses Ingram is she didn't watch Star Wars before this. That seems so abundantly clear.
Right. Well, it takes a special, if you're talking about classically trained actors and actresses, it takes a special kind of person from that world to do genre films and TV. You're talking about an Ian McKellen.
Yeah. Well, right. See, that's a funny thing because Christopher Lee can come in. And maybe it's just Christopher Lee's gravitas.
Yeah, that's like I said, it takes a special kind of person. I mean,
yeah. This was just this was just a fail. And ultimately I blame the writers because the concept itself is bad from the get-go. The idea that there's an Inquisitor who knows who Vader is, that's asinine. And the other problem is, this was my initial problem from episode 1 of this series, was we've seen in the Vader comic how the Inquisitorius got trained. She should be missing an arm. She should be I mean, it was brutal what happened with these characters. Absolutely fucking brutal. And there's no way you become an Inquisitor, according to the Vader comics, without you getting humbled. And this gal clearly was not humbled.
No,
So go ahead.
And everybody else, even all of her, fellow Inquisitors, talk to her in a manner that they all recognize this woman needs to be taken down a peg or two.
Yeah, well, and they're all saying, "Oh, you're the least of us," which again falls into this Disney racism.
Yeah.
Which is a massive problem. To me, I mean, I'll just say it, to me, she's ruining the show. We need to talk about Darth Vader and how he's presented in this, because I think there's problems there too. But honestly, she's the character. I want to be clear. The character of Reva is killing the show. It has nothing to do with race. Has nothing to do with any of that. This character just makes no sense, in my opinion. And there's just everything's wrong about it.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this, by the way, to be clear, I'm saying this as somebody who's a fan of the Inquisitorius. I like the idea. I like the presentation of it. I thought the Grand Inquisitor's arc in Rebels was fantastic. You know, like I think it's a cool concept. So, you know, don't think it's like, oh, because like I hate the villains. Actually, quite the opposite. I love the villains.
Anybody who watches the show knows that Brian is, you know...
they're all my favorite characters.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Palpatine? Hey, baby. You know, I'll call him Daddy. Anyway. So let's talk about Vader a bit. Let's get into that. How do you feel about how Vader's been treated and presented in this show through these 4 episodes?
I mean, we've only seen him in one episode.
2, 3, and 4.
Okay, I mean, you know, flashes, glimpses, things like that.
Wait, let's say this quick. Episode 3 was horrible. Of Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Like, that was bad.
Yeah.
1, 2, and 4 were okay. 3 was really bad.
Yeah, I mean, like, about as bad as you can get. You know, like, Rise of Skywalker bad.
Yes. Yep, completely. You're totally right. Despite some cool visuals that happened in it, despite what was supposed to be like this epic fucking battle, here we go, Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader, and it was piss poor, and it was in fact it was dull.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it wasn't even well cut.
Well, you want to talk about writing? I mean, where was it?
Yeah, right.
You know, you had Vader talking throughout the entire fight, and Obi-Wan says, all he says is, you know, what have you become? And that's it for the entire fight. He says nothing.
Yeah.
And he could, like, you know, like, I don't understand the logic that the writers had for Obi-Wan. You know, it seems like he's scared, but he doesn't run away from Vader. He keeps being drawn to him.
Right.
And this whole, like, quote, fight with Vader is just, like, he can't make up his mind whether or not he's going to confront Vader or run away from him.
Mm-hmm. And you get you didn't really get any explanation, and I don't think there was even enough suggested in the cinematography, which you can do that. You don't have to say it outright. The cinematography can tell a story, you know, but they didn't even do that where, okay, so is he just hoping that he can, like, you know, turn Vader back to the light side? You know, kind of.
He doesn't even try,
though. No, right. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, even if he just said something, it's like, I sense there's still good in you or something like that. That would have given us something, but we have no reason as to why the fuck Obi-Wan is just doing this and why he keeps going.
The only moment during that fight that I felt like had like any like feeling to it was, you know, when Vader tries to light Obi-Wan on fire and he's like, "You're gonna feel what I felt."
Yeah, that was quote unquote cool.
Yeah.
Okay. But the problem there is, people come in to rescue Obi-Wan from the fire.
Right.
Not a minute before, we see that Vader can actually put out the fire with the Force. So the fire is there by his doing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's no logic to it. Like I said, like there's just no logic to this episode at all.
No, right? Because here's the thing: like Vader's armor is effectively impenetrable. Especially like when you read the comics and everything, he can go in the water with it under incredible pressure. He's been inside like the stomach of creatures that are breathing fire and whatever else. He's been inside of volcanoes and everything. This suit is indestructible. And you're telling me that little bit of flame kept him from going and grabbing Obi-Wan and finishing the deal? What the fuck was that? Right.
I mean, just like the one thing that I have liked about what Disney has done with Vader is that
we got the peanut gallery. Dexter's not happy about Vader at all.
So I've appreciated, you know, what in the past what Disney has done with Vader in terms of they've made him just like an utter tank, an unstoppable machine, something to fear again.
Yes.
I think in some ways, like we were all kind of disappointed that we didn't get that in Revenge of the Sith. We didn't get to see, you know, Vader being this force of terror.
Yes.
And Disney did do that. They did
with
it
Rogue One. Holy shit! Yes.
With not only Rogue One, but you know, you think back to the second season of Rebels. You know, they dropped a chicken walker on him, and the guy just cast it off like it was nothing and kept coming.
Here comes Frankenstein's monster.
Right? Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And you see like hints of that in this fight, but it's not really there. You're not feeling it.
No, he's
and
weak.
Like, you know, like I love that they keep bringing James Earl Jones back to do the voice, and he did fantastic, but it's not. It doesn't save it.
No, right. I have not been impressed with Vader's treatment overall in this. He's not vicious enough. He's not frightening enough. He keeps giving this Reva like chances over and over again.
Yeah.
When I was just hoping in episode 4, when he starts force choking her, lifts her up into the air, I was just hoping he'd snap her neck.
Right.
You know, and they're like, okay, now that's Vader.
Right.
You know, I mean, because again, and that's the Vader we saw interacting with the Inquisitorius when he's training them in the fucking comic books.
Right.
And I want to make this point abundantly clear. I'm not making it. Disney is. Everything's canon. You can't say, well, that's in the comic books. No, fuck you. Disney says that's canon. They should live up to that crap, and they're not.
Yeah.
But that's a side subject, I suppose.
Is it, though?
Well, no, not
Because,
really.
I mean, this show violating canon, let's talk about the elephant in the room.
Sure.
You know, first episode, they kill the Grand Inquisitor. That's not how he dies.
Yeah, right. We know when he dies, and it's much later.
Yeah.
I'm guessing he's going to come back. He's got to, you know.
Well, he's got 2 episodes to do it, and we ain't seeing it.
Well,
all the other Inquisitors at this point are acting like he's dead and gone.
Yeah, and they're looking to fill in.
Right.
Just same with, Fifth Brother or whatever.
Right, yeah. Like even Vader says, like telling people, you give me what I want and you'll be the Grand Inquisitor. Well,
yeah, which is weird because if he's just laid up in a hospital bed, like, Vader would know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, this is so fucked.
Isn't it?
Well, I wonder if that's going to... See, okay, so then maybe they're going to explain that the Grand Inquisitor, which that would still break canon, because when we get introduced to the character in the Vader comics, it's definitely the same Grand Inquisitor that's in Rebels.
Right.
If it was a different Grand Inquisitor, okay, that would make sense why they didn't get Jason Isaacs. But then you're still breaking canon.
But he's still got the same tattoos. He's still the same Pauan race.
Yeah.
You know,
well, that's the part that's hard to believe. Like, somehow you have 2 people from Utapau who both become Grand Inquisitor? That's a stretch.
Right.
I don't that was them going for their Game of Thrones moment, and they have that fucking actress also from Game of Thrones. I just keep calling her Game of Thrones lady. God, I'm so tired of that. I'm so fucking tired of Hollywood being obsessed with replicating Game of Thrones. Just stop. It was lightning in a bottle. It was horrible lightning in a bottle anyway, but stop trying to copy that. Like, it was supposed to be a shocking death. They were clearly playing... It feels like Disney has to know that. And I don't know what the hell they're doing, though. Like there's just... It's like we're going to get to the end of episode 6, and the last 5 minutes is going to be 10 billion whodunits, or, whodunit resolutions. And it's all going to be so quick, it's going to feel cheap.
Yeah.
One of my biggest problems with the show, the pacing's horrible. Like, they're wasting time. You only have 6 episodes. You're setting up way too much story for those 6 episodes, and this isn't going to fly.
Yeah. Well, here again, this is another problem that, Disney Plus Star Wars shows have had. I mean, like, as bad as the pacing in this is, I'm kind of torn as to which had the worst pacing, this or the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, good point. That's another one. Such a slow starter. And then, everything's just a big explosion at the end, which was, not to say it didn't turn out well, but, like, you could have spread all of that amazing stuff over so many episodes. There was no need to, like, have such a slow burn and then just...
Well, just in having it all disjointed between flashbacks and the present.
Good point. Yeah, the flashbacks should have all been one episode. And ended. I completely agree. Yeah, the pacing is super weird in this, and it's just not like, and there's no payoff when it seemed like for the first couple episodes they were really holding off on Obi-Wan igniting his lightsaber, which would be an exciting moment, right? They were really holding off on. It looked like they were playing with it, like, oh, is he going to pull out the lightsaber? Oh, is he going to pull out the lightsaber? Like, Deborah Chow seemed to be playing with that as a director, which is great. But then when he finally does, it's nothing. Like, it's treated as nothing. And so, like, that build-up, there's no payoff in that build-up. And that disappointed me, as well with that. I want to move on to some other, like, let's get into some other quick technicals or some other parts of By the Numbers. And this is one of the maybe another one of the big problems with the show. The music.
What music?
You're right. So you got this gal, Natalie Holt, who I can't tell. I know she's done a lot of stuff, but who I can't tell you one goddamn thing she's done other than, like, the Batgirl series. Which, whatever, okay? Yeah. Fuck that shit, too, I
have nothing to say because I've never seen it, so...
Well, yeah. So I checked out a couple episodes because I actually think Ruby Rose is a cool actress, and was a perfect choice for the character of Cassandra Cain or whoever they decided it to be. And anyway, there's nothing to speak of there. But my point, you already said it. What music? Like, the music here is completely lackluster. This is easily the worst soundtrack for Star Wars, which is a hard thing to pull off, to make a bad Star Wars soundtrack. It's easily the worst Star Wars soundtrack I've heard since Solo.
Yeah.
Which, again, not that the soundtrack for Solo was bad, it just wasn't exciting. The music in Star Wars is such an integral part of Star Wars. It's part of what makes Star Wars Star Wars. You cannot let it sit in the background. You can't. It's not background music. John Williams is as much a character in Star Wars as Luke Skywalker, as Han Solo, as Darth Vader, as anything. And in fact, none of those characters would be half of what they are if there wasn't the most grandiose and exciting music you've ever heard in your life as what's playing when they go into action.
Yeah.
And it's not like Disney can't bring in great new Star Wars music, totally new Star Wars music. Ludwig Göransson brought the house down with the music for The Mandalorian.
Right.
Even Book of Boba Fett had fantastic music. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking here. What do you got?
I mean, I echo everything you've said. I really don't have much to say about the music because it just it feels like it's not even there.
Which is insane. It's Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan fucking Kenobi.
Yeah.
Where's the Force theme? Not once. We could have used a little bit of it, at some point. Like, that's how he got introduced to us. Like, even the da-da-da-da-da-da, like, if they just played on that. I mean, Hollywood, composers today are actually masters at taking the smallest, like, 3-4 notes of something. Think like, the Avengers theme. And turning it into the most epic fucking thing you've ever heard in your life.
Right.
When it was incredibly simple when it was first done. I don't know why they couldn't do that with this.
It seems like it was an afterthought.
It's strange. It's just weird.
Yeah.
What a fail. And you can't just bring in all the bombast in episode 6. Like that just, people are tired of that. If we're meant to binge watch these things, then let us binge watch them all at once.
Right.
Don't keep doing the slow burn shit. I don't get it.
Just to hold on to subscriptions.
Yeah. So what's funny? Actually, so the theme music for the show is supposedly by John Williams. I can't even think of what the theme music is. I have no goddamn idea what the theme music is.
It's not like it has a big intro or anything. No. It's funny. The best music of the series was the pre-run of to the first episode where it showed all the footage from the prequels.
Oh, and it's just all that dun, 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 dun,
yeah. That's the best music in the entire series.
I don't get it. I mean, they're failing. I'm trying to come up with really nice things to say about this show. And this should have been the easiest thing in the world for them to do. And here, so let me take it to this. I mean, okay, special effects. What is there to say? Everything looks fucking amazing. I have no problem with the effects. How about you, Rob?
Oh yeah, it looks great.
Yeah, everything looks great. Everything.
Yeah,
and it was great. Seeing the T-47s again. That was phenomenal.
Yeah.
In episode 4.
I mean, I totally don't mind at all if they're obviously reusing sets from Mandalorian.
Yeah, no problem here. The only thing I will say about set design and about some of the special effects, I liked it better in the original trilogy and through most of extraneous material like comic books and whatever else. That Imperial design is very compact. Everything is really, really tight. As to where everything in this is extremely grandiose, and I don't think that makes sense. The sets for the Inquisitor base and everything, they're huge.
Yeah, but that makes sense because of Fallen Order. I feel like they definitely basically copied what was in that game.
Okay, I'll give you that. Yep. All right, so they're sticking with that. Good. Okay, so they stuck with it. There you go. Changed my mind. You're good on that. The other big problem I had was I'm about 100% certain a T-47 cannot hover in place. No. That is a repulsor. That thing, it only hovers in place if it's off, but even then, that can't be true because the goddamn thing has landing skids.
Yeah.
Which get used in the episode.
Right.
A T-47 cannot hover in place. And maybe that's just me thinking of playing Empire Strikes Back on the Nintendo, or on the NES, or because I played Shadows of the Empire on the N64 so much, or what? And like, God damn it, if I could just stop the thing, even when I hit the brakes, it still goes. Like,
right.
You can't.
Right.
You can't hover in place, but the fucker hovers in place.
The only thing I can think is just like maybe Riva was holding it in place, but if that was the case, why didn't she just fucking crash the thing or throw it over?
She should. Yeah.
I mean,
that's a whole lot. Yeah. Like that's another thing. A big problem with the show. Like the contradictions in the use of force powers in this are insane. Like there's a million times where she should have been reading other people's minds, which she can do. Which is, I don't mind that. Like that's something we kind of got introduced with more with Kylo Ren.
Right.
That's great that people express their force powers in different ways, or they have different force powers compared to others. Nothing wrong with that. That's a long history in Star Wars. But yeah, she should have been able to hold that thing in place or crush it, like right there.
Yeah.
That made no sense to me. I also had the problem with like Obi-Wan, like when he's holding back the water, like the glass from like essentially this ocean, just like crashing in. Size matters not. So like, what I'm saying is the amount of glass or whatever, or the amount of water, like really shouldn't matter. Like that shouldn't be a struggle, because again, if you can lift a rock, you're supposed to be able to lift an X-wing with no difference in exertion. That's like Yoda's whole point. But that I'm nitpicking there. Like that.
Yeah,
that's a real nitpick.
I think that kind of just falls into the whole thing in general with Obi-Wan kind of losing,
being rusty.
Yeah, not just rusty, but kind of seems like he's lost faith in himself.
Yeah.
And, this series is supposed to provide him with the kick in the pants to, get his mojo back.
Yeah. That's fair. I think there are a lot of other critiques that can be made, and I know plenty of other shows have made as well, I'm sure. One of the main things I'm worried about here that I want to get into, unless you have something else you want to comment on any of that.
No, I don't think so.
All right. I'm worried of one of two things. Both are bad. One is that this is actually a springboard show for Riva. In fact, there was a tweet from the official Star Wars account that seemed to suggest that this whole series is actually about the character of Riva. And that's where I feel like what I talked about earlier that I want to put a pin on, the bait and switch. Where, okay, make the show about a character that people actually give a shit about, but use it to like create this new character that fits in with some kind of agenda that Disney has. And I'm really worried about that's what's going on here. And maybe I wouldn't mind it so much, just like I theorized earlier with Andor. Okay, maybe that's exactly what's happening with Andor, and it's actually going to be a Mon Mothma show. The difference being, Mon Mothma is a great character. As to where Riva is not a good character at all.
Yeah.
And
well,
go ahead.
I mean, yeah, I could definitely see that being a possibility, but Disney's so fucking fickle that, if they're putting their finger to the wind and, they're seeing that this is not a popular character, that could fall apart in a minute. Because
that's true.
The same thing happened with Solo in the character of Enfys Nest.
Oh yeah,
there was an interview with the actress. What was her name? It's not coming to me.
I know who you're talking about there. The redhead.
Yeah. I think it's Erin Kellyman or something like that. But like, she let it slip that they had future plans for her character.
Yes.
Well, where is it?
Yeah. Which maybe be a surprise thing in Andor, but you're right. It's not there. And so if something fails, Disney will just drop it. You know, like a hot potato. Yeah. So there's a chance that could happen. The other problem, or the second thing that could happen out of this is that this is some kind of redemption arc for Riva, which, if that's the case, I don't care.
I'm so
of
tired
that. I don't have enough of the character. Like, I just don't care.
Yeah.
You screwed it up with Kylo Ren anyway. But
well, they screwed it up with Kylo Ren. They did that whole thing with in Battlefront 2.
Yeah.
Where, we thought we were going to be getting a game where
with
we're
Iden
playing...
Versio.
Yeah, with Iden Versio, we're playing the Emperor for the Empire majority of the time. And then, like, after the first act, she's already switched to the Rebellion, and after that, like, I didn't care anymore. Like,
yeah.
I didn't, like...
Yeah, we thought we were getting something different.
Such a predictable, turn of events.
Yeah. Yeah, and I kind of get, and certainly this, I have critiques of this as well with Obi-Wan, the idea that George Lucas made it very clear that Star Wars is poetry, and poetry is meant to rhyme, and, you know, like, you keep doing similar beats, okay? I get that. But there's similar beats, like Obi-Wan distracting the stormtroopers with a little, you know, force sound, and making them walk away and not, you know, what was that?
Right.
You know, just like out of A New Hope.
Right. Well, there's even a particular shot in that episode that is literally just like
Lifted right out of A New Hope.
Yeah, exactly the same exact
Yes.
shot.
Yeah, and it's of a comm.
Yeah,
it's of a
right.
communicator. But I get that, okay? But again, there's a difference between rhyming and, you know, whole cloth stealing.
Right.
Okay, like, those are two very different things. And look, Star Wars has had its redemption arc. It's Anakin Skywalker, and that's the end of it. You keep doing it over and over again. You kill the specialness and uniqueness of Anakin Skywalker's story.
Yeah, I kind of feel like they already did that.
Yeah, and I think it's fucking rubbish.
So they're beating a dead horse at this point.
Right, and if they're doing that with Reva, fuck this shit. Like,
right.
I mean that bad story idea.
Yeah.
Bad character and just bad story idea. So I'm worried about this bait and switch trend that seems to be happening with Disney and Star Wars. And yeah, it's really souring the milk here. So anyway, beyond that, I don't know how much else I have to say about Obi-Wan, but that's kind of the end point that I'm very concerned about. But ultimately, I am not really pleased with this show. I'm going to give it its chance. But it pales in comparison, even to Book of Boba Fett. It pales, certainly, to The Mandalorian, when frankly it should have outshined both of them with ease. And again, we're only 4 episodes deep. Who knows? Maybe something miraculous can happen in 2 episodes, but even then the pacing's wrong.
You know, from a personal level, like, the coolest moment in this entire series thus far turned out to be a throwaway moment.
Which was?
Where Obi-Wan arrives on that planet and he sees what looks like Anakin Skywalker. Not Darth Vader.
Oh, that was awesome. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was new footage with Hayden Christensen.
Right.
That was great.
Yeah, and it turned out to be a complete throwaway moment.
Yeah. But that was shocking. Like Mike. I
Yeah,
think my heart might have stopped.
Yeah, it was arresting.
Yeah, it was arresting. Great word. Yeah, that and getting a lot more of Alderaan in live action. We've gotten it in the books and the comics, but to get it canon in live action was awesome.
Yeah.
And again, Jimmy Smits as Bail Organa was great. Getting more of Leia's adoptive mother, Brea was awesome. Which, if you listen to a recent TIE Fighter Renegades, I talked about how the books by E.K. Johnston lately seem to be pointing at that she's going to start writing books more about Brea, which is the Queen's Peril trilogy and all that. Which I'm totally fine with, and I talked about it in that review. People can go back and listen to that episode. So, you know, if we're leading in that direction, great. You know, like, I'm fine with that. I think exploring more of Leia's youth, I'm totally cool with that. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, you know, as far as I'm concerned, like, you know, that you know, little 10-year-old actress, she continue play Leia, like, into her teenage years. Yeah. As far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. I think the moments with Uncle Owen that's some of the best Star Wars I've seen, frankly. That easily would go, like, my top 100 moments in Star Wars would be, you know, Owen Lars just putting Obi-Wan in his place. Awesome.
Yeah.
So I was a little worried. I'll say this, like, I'm a little worried, and I know it's going to happen. Like, we did not need an explanation of the toy T-16 Skyhopper that Luke Skywalker plays with in A New Hope.
Yeah.
I did not need to know where that came from.
No, we didn't need it, but at the same, I don't think it didn't bother me as much as it bothered you.
Yeah, it's just like,
it's just something Star Wars does now these days.
Yeah.
You know, like,
it's Midrash, like I've said. You know, that's Star Wars Midrash.
Yeah.
You got to explain, wait a minute, how did Adam do this?
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. I mean, at least it's not, you know, R5 being a Jedi.
Yeah. Funny, though, we did get an R5 droid in this.
Yeah, there was, yeah.
It's not the same one.
No.
I don't think, but, yeah. So, anyway, there's some good things here, but it's just moments that are good. It's not like the series, and the series really should have been great. I don't know. Again, we'll give it its chance with the next 2 episodes. So, okay, how about we get into some other things? And we've been going an hour and a half. I'm going to turn to Mrs. Sovryn here. Are we doing okay on time? Are we okay? All right. Because, dinner's got to be had here at some point. In fact, I think we're going to be watching some Jurassic Park tonight. We'll see. So, anyway, did you want to get to that question, or do you want to just bump right into...
Well, we can get into it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. And then we'll wrap up with the fan production.
Okay.
But,
okay.
All right, so I don't know what this question is, folks. We did not pre-plan. I mean, Rob pre-planned it, but I did not. I have no idea what it is. So he's going to get me flat-footed. Let's do it.
So, oh boy, am I.
Shit.
So I recently got Brian to do something that he begrudgingly agreed to, and that he said he was never going to do.
Yeah, but you gave me a stereo system for it, man.
And I got him to watch an episode of Strange New Worlds.
Fucking ass.
I don't know how you didn't see this coming.
I don't either. I should have known he was going to ask this. God damn it.
So we talked about this in private, about your feelings about what you saw. And let's air the dirty laundry.
All right. So Rob got me to watch, and Ellen watched it as well. Episode 4, the 4th episode, which this is so Star Trek Strange New Worlds, which is all about Captain Pike post Discovery Season 2, pre The Cage? No, it's post The Cage, right? Because he's already been to Talos 4.
Right.
But it's pre, where No Man Has Gone Before. Pre the first episode of the original series.
Right.
Okay, just for context for those that don't know. So this is a 10-episode series. I think they've already planned a season 2. And the reviews for this show from everybody else this is the general sentiment, is that I don't know if it's good, but it feels more like Star Trek should, and so we like it. So basically people are saying this is comfort food. Not fast food, but comfort food. That's the general gist I've gotten. So you had me watch episode 4, which, spoiler alerts, they encounter the Gorn, and which is interesting, right? Which more or less we've only ever seen in season 4 of Enterprise, and of course the classic original series episode Arena.
Right.
And it's Pike encountering them. You had me watch this, and here was my response at the end of it was, okay, that wasn't bad, which I would say that about every single episode of Discovery and Picard.
I would.
What?
I would say that it was bad.
Oh, no, well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Is that every single episode of, ultimately, in hindsight, every single episode of Discovery and Picard is bad. Anything I ever said nice about those episodes were killed by everything that happened after.
Right.
Okay. And so I have effectively written off Star Trek, or at least new Star Trek. Alex Kurtzman's Star Trek has been written off.
Right.
I still love, everything under the Berman and Roddenberry eras. I genuinely love the Abrams movies. I'm still a fan of that trilogy. But yeah, and anything new I've just completely written off and I won't watch. But Rob got me to watch it. And so, like I said, my review ultimately was, yeah, that wasn't bad. I also didn't feel like it was great. But that said, I applaud the inclusion of Cadet Uhura. The gal they got playing, I can see her becoming Nichelle Nichols. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I had no problem there. I thought that was great. I like Anson Mount as Pike. He was one of the few things I liked about Discovery in Season 2.
Yeah, if I was going to say that there was anything good about Season 2, it was those few initial episodes with him in it.
Yeah.
When they got further into it, it just turned into shit, as most things New Trek do.
Yeah. The bringing in Dr. Mbenga, great choice.
Yeah.
Great fucking choice.
I agree with you.
Yeah, awesome. I think bringing in Nurse Chapel is going a little overboard. But she seemed fine, and they made character references that made sense.
See, I've seen more of her in other episodes, and I think she's a fantastic character in these series. She's definitely different than the Nurse Chapel that we see in the original series. But I see where she's becoming that character, and in this one, she's got a little spunk to her, and I kind of like it.
Yeah, I see. If I was choosing, I would have brought in either Sulu, who, was aboard the Enterprise kind of early on. I would have either brought in Sulu, or I would have brought in like a kind of a, I mean, what are yeomans? That's a question. But I would have brought in like a Cadet Rand. I would have been way more interested in that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like Nurse Chapel very much got her due. Like, we got enough of her. But there are characters that I think, like, because in one sense you could say, well, having Chapel in Strange New Worlds gives the character more depth when you see her in the original series. And you can say that.
Yeah.
But I would have much rather had that with Rand, who is both a character and actress that frankly got screwed by whoever, Desilu, Roddenberry, pick the thing. Like, I mean, I was so glad they brought her back for Star Trek VI. So glad that they brought her back even for the episode in Voyager when they went aboard the Excelsior. That's who I would have chosen, but that's fine. Like that's just me. I didn't expect them to bring in so many characters. I didn't expect them to bring in Uhura. Anyway, continuing on, Ethan Peck is Spock. In an abstract, I've always thought he was a great choice. And I thought he did fine in this. As long as it's not the writers from Discovery, he's doing a great job. Rebecca Romijn, awesome, is number one.
Right.
No arguments there. In fact, admittedly, I'll say this now, I do appreciate that we have two characters effectively both played by Majel Roddenberry in the same show.
Right.
Which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
But that's all right. That's a woman who deserves the credit, I suppose. And again, Pike is good. I thought the navigator, the helmsman. I thought the helmsman, like who just has this like chip on her shoulder and bad attitude or whatever, or not the bad attitude. That's the Noonien Singh thing. Yeah, that gal who. I just think that's a dumb idea, but I know there's more to the character, and you've explained that actually, like, it makes sense and it fits. I don't know. At first blush, to me, it just seems stupid. But regardless...
That was my initial reaction when they announced the cast for this show. So I will agree with you there. Okay. Initially, I felt the same way. Okay. But I have since changed my mind.
Okay. Yeah. I think somebody, like, being crass to the captain or talking back to the captain is, especially in the original series, is preposterous. Like, and that's annoying to me. I can see that. I kind of feel like that is the show trying to speak to a younger audience. Yeah. Oh no, I agree. That is what it is. Yeah. But that's not Star Trek. So anyway, that's okay. That's okay. It's a minor quibble. I give credit that it did feel episodic. Like, I didn't really need to know the previous 3 episodes, nor do I need to know the next 6 to understand what's going on. Yeah. Or to appreciate what I saw.
Yeah, and I'll back that up because I've seen all 5 of the episodes that have come out thus far. Yeah. And it's definitely back to an episodic Star Trek show where you can watch, these episodes pretty much in any order.
And you're good. Yeah. So it's not so much serialized.
No, not
there's
at all.
references clearly to what happened before. That's fine.
Right.
But good. So I applaud that as well. I wish they'd do it more, but whatever, they're doing it here. Bringing in the Gorn, they got the Gorn ships completely wrong. We know the design of Gorn ships. Whatever. What am I going to do about that? You know what I mean? So, actually, to be fair, the Gorn ships really didn't get designed until they, remastered the original series, and so that's, a whole new concept anyway.
Right. That's what I was thinking, too, is kind of we have previous designs for Gorn ships, but have we actually seen them? I guess the remasters are canon, but I don't know. They're kind of in a weird space.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but somebody picked up the Star Trek Encyclopedia, which nobody that works at Paramount right now has, they'd see it.
Right.
But that's fine. That's a minor quibble again. I thought some of the things they did with the Gorn were pretty cool. The one character that really stood out to me was, and I thought this was awesome, and this is definitely the best thing in the show. I can just say that straight up for multiple reasons. Is the the Northern the Anar, in fact I can't even think of his name.
The chief engineer.
Yeah, he's the chief engineer. He's an Anar. Now the Anar are this mythical Andorian race, which is awesome in itself because this is the depth that Star Trek got to in the 90s and in the aughts. We've fully realized the world. We're even exploring the mythologies of other fucking species. That's how far away from humanity we are. And fuck yes. It's a great inclusion. because the A&R are only in Enterprise, and anytime that show gets respect, I love it. And it's only the 4th season, of course, the great season. And now the A&R are both blind, or are all these things. They're blind, telepathic, and pacifists. Like, they will not, like, in fact, them being pacifists is a major story arc of why they were in Enterprise, because this one A&R has to work with the Romulans. This guy delivers phenomenal lines about pacifism. Like, he delivers real philosophy, and that's been the problem with Star Trek, with New Trek, is there's no philosophy. Like, there's no teaching moments, there's no moral story. You know, like, the best, and it's not even a good thing, the best thing you'd get would be like Michael Burnham quoting Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a philosophical treatise, you know. Like, but this guy is delivering really insightful stuff, and I loved it.
Yeah,
this is loved
part
it too.
Yeah, I did.
This is the part of the reason why I actually wanted you to watch this particular episode, was because I felt that not only did it have I felt like the show, that episode in particular, had a lot of DNA from the Abrams Trek.
Yep.
But also it had, basically highlighting this character. I think this is where, like, he's pretty awesome from the moment you meet him.
Yes.
But I feel like this episode did, like, the best job of, like, highlighting his character.
Yes. Yeah, so I feel like there's enough original series references in it. There was enough attention to some canon, anyway. Even, like, Uhura working with the chief engineer, I thought was really great, because that explains perhaps her affection to Scotty.
Right.
Later on. But then these teaching moments during crises is very Next Gen. Part of what made Next Gen great.
Right.
Is like, what is Picard teaching the kids when they're all singing Frere Jacques going up the turbo lift?
Right.
And you're getting that in this, and I'm like, yes, thank you. And then you do at the same time, you still have that J.J. Abrams styling, which again I don't mind.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to like here, admittedly, but also it's just got the problem. It has a massive hill to climb, and that hill is Discovery and Picard and Lower Decks and all the crap, that has just been pouring like a waterfall out of Alex Kurtzman's ass. There's just so much that, even if Strange New Worlds is an incredible raft to ride, that tide of shit in.
Yeah.
It's still a tide of shit.
I completely agree with you, because, and I have, put myself through more suffering than you have, because I continue to watch Discovery and Picard.
And you give me crap for listening to Star Wars audiobooks. And I'm like,
No. I do not give you crap for okay, maybe I do a little. but like, I've never said that I have to watch Discovery and Picard. I know I don't have to.
Yeah.
I just keep on telling you that you don't have to do these things.
Yeah.
Even though you feel that you do. There's nobody pointing a gun at your head and making you listen to every single Star Wars audiobook and reading every single Star Wars comic book.
Yeah, but you still watch Discovery. And did you watch the entire season 2 of Picard?
I did.
And how was that?
It started out really good, and then it fucking nosedive hard.
Right, so I'm sitting here thinking you're more into BDSM than I am. And I'm baffled by this.
I guess, I'm not ready to give up on Star Trek yet.
I'm just not with you, man.
I know you're not. And I kind of like, the first time that I see like a little bit of glimmer of hope, I like, okay, I want Brian to see this. I want Brian to see the spark of hope that I do, and maybe that, there's a future, for Star Trek somewhere out there going forward that we can both enjoy.
Yeah, see, to me, like, maybe when this is all said and done, 10 episodes out there, I'll binge watch this thing. And I've even argued that, well, except for Picard, I've even argued that, like, Discovery might even be an okay show if you, if you binge watch it. Like, the episode of the week just doesn't work for these shows.
It's questionable, but sure.
Yeah, I might watch it, and I might even enjoy it, but boy, I'll tell you, it'll never be in my head canon, and it'll just never be canon to me. And Star Trek, part of what makes Star Trek so powerful is its internal consistency. I'm not saying it's perfect, it's not. with its, it has plenty of contradictions. They've done that a billion times over, especially with Enterprise. But it's just never going to be a part of that picture. And if it's not a part of the picture that is Star Trek, like, to me, it's, well, then why bother? But I will say that, at the same time, like, I'm going to quote this episode the rest of my life. So I'm still thankful that you showed it to me. And I mean, I don't know if you want to do a quick defense of the series so far. Maybe we've already done that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get too deep into it.
Sure.
I have at least enjoyed the show.
Yeah.
Whereas I can't necessarily say that about Discovery or Picard. Because, I mean, yeah, admittedly, those have been exercises in self-flagellation.
Yeah.
But yeah, thus far, this series, we're 5 episodes in, and I'm still enjoying it, and that's farther than any recent Trek has ever gotten and held my attention.
Yeah. Well, there's something to be said for that. Ellen, you want to jump in really fast? What did you think of it?
I'm sorry, what did I think of what?
What did you think of that episode of Strange New Worlds, Star Trek Strange New Worlds?
Yeah, I think we talked about this the other night, and basically what I said was, like, it's very familiar in certain ways, in, good ways, the ways that Star Trek is supposed to be. There were some characters that I felt like didn't exactly fit in, like you were saying, giving sass to the captain. I don't think that would have passed with other captains.
That's what they make airlocks for. Shove those people out.
Well, I could just imagine
this is the USS Enterprise, not the ISS Enterprise.
Wait a minute.
Well,
carry on.
I can just hear Picard saying, like, "May I see you in my ready room?"
Yeah, right, yeah,
exactly.
And then he, like, gives him the smackdown privately.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I thought, again, the engineer, the lead engineer, he was really great. He was my favorite character because of the things he said about pacifism.
Yeah.
I thought it was good. I liked it.
All right, do you want to, while we're on the road, do you want to watch, like, all 10 episodes?
If Rob says they're good.
All right.
I vouch for the first 5.
All right.
Obviously, I can't speak for the ones that aren't out yet. But I will continue to watch it, and I'll continue to keep you abreast of whether or not it's worth continuing with.
All right.
Yeah, I think if Rob vouches for it, we should watch it. Mainly because, well, like, I trust Rob's opinion, but I also remember when the other new Star Trek series were coming out. You were so excited to have more Star Trek.
Yeah.
And I was too. But it was really disappointing that they sucked so much.
Right.
Yeah.
So here's a chance for new Trek that isn't terrible. I know that you have felt like Star Trek has betrayed you in recent years,
yes.
But, like, here's an opportunity for Star Trek to make it up to you.
Maybe.
And that's all I'm looking for. And I have Ellen to thank for helping me get Brian just to sit down and watch it, because she was there was some cajoling on her part on getting him to do it. So if it weren't for you, I don't think I would have succeeded.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to help.
Thank you.
Just try to get him to stay open to possibilities.
Well,
that's
thanks.
What Star Trek is about.
That's what I told him the other day. Is I said to him, he was like, as Mr. Spock is fond of saying, I like to think that there are possibilities.
Yeah. Well, I just wish it didn't take 30 producers in the credits to do it, to make those. I almost quit there. Like, when we were watching it, when we started, and the credits are rolling, I started counting the amount of producers for the show, and it got to like 27. I'm like, what the fuck is it? Like, how many people did you need to make this? Anyway, yeah. So
well, I mean, this is one of the reasons why I think there might be hope for this. I think if there's any Star Trek going on right now that Kurtzman has the least involvement in,
it's this one.
It's probably this one, because in a lot of ways, this is the show that he didn't plan on making and didn't want to make, but was basically kind of like the fans forced his hand.
Yeah.
Because they asked for more Pike.
Yeah, that's true. And to Anson Mount's credit, I know he had said in interviews, I'll do it. I'll come back as Pike, but you have to. This show has to be run differently.
Right.
Like that's essentially what he said. You need different writers. You need different. So I'm not surprised that this show feels right.
And going in, that's why like I was actually kind of looking forward to this series, as opposed to, like I said, the other ones are just exercises in self-flagellation. You know,
Yeah.
I had a little bit of hope at the beginning of second season Picard, but now they fucking ruined it as usual.
Yeah. So okay. So I'm going to end off with this on this subject. I am open to this being like, so one of my favorite shows of all time, Battlestar Galactica from 1978. Thank you. There was a sequel series to that called Galactica 1980.
Yeah.
Horrible. Fucking horrible.
Yeah.
Except for one episode. The last episode of that series was called The Return of Starbuck. And that episode by Galactica 78 fans around the world is beloved. Like, everybody loves that episode. And they kind of want to consider it canon. And they kind of treat, like, every like comic series or novel series of the original Galactica has always played off of the storyline that happens in that episode. Even though technically it's not considered canon from the first season. I could imagine that this show could find that place perhaps in my heart. We're like, okay, Galactica 1980 is not canon, but that Return of Starbuck episode, yeah, all right, that
Right.
I accept that one, and I'll watch that over and over again.
Right.
So maybe this will fit in that way, but it would only fit in that way, where it's almost like it's like apocrypha, you know, for the Tanakh. Like it's those extra books. Yeah, they're not really scripture, but okay, you know, like we'll let them in. There's something interesting there, so I'll leave it at that.
So maybe someday in the future we'll get another episode of Sovryn Trek.
Maybe. Ugh. Maybe. Anyway, don't wait around, folks.
I'll work on it.
Yeah. Speaking of Apocrypha, let's get into our fan production, then we'll wrap this baby up.
This is
We've been
a good
going
one.
2 hours.
Yeah.
Now, this is awesome.
Yeah.
This is truly, truly great. Link is in the show notes for this. It's just called Star Wars X-Wing, and they basically... Well, you do the intro for this, Rob.
I mean, you know, it kind of does for X-Wing what the TIE Fighter anime did for TIE Fighter.
For the TIE Fighter game.
Yes.
Right. Yep.
Yeah,
and this does the same thing for the X-Wing game. It's pretty clear they were pulling in some stuff from the Rogue Squadron novels, I felt like, with this.
Yeah.
Like, it's X-Wings kind of taking back Coruscant.
Right.
Against a bunch of Star Destroyers.
Right. But a lot of the visual elements and the cockpits and the sound effects are from X-Wing, the game. The game.
Yes. Yeah. This is all CGI.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's fantastic looking. I mean,
yes, it is.
For a fan production, I'm just like blown away.
Yeah, it's about 5.5 minutes long.
I mean, you remember those CGI commercials they did for what was it, Squadrons game?
Yes.
It's on that level.
Yes, agreed. Which those were awesome.
Yes.
Those, all of the extraneous material around Squadrons was great.
Right.
Like the little short stories, the movies. Those were really cool. I agree with you. This is right up there. I mean, Ellen even watched it too. And we're just like, holy shit, this is so exciting. Like, it was awesome Star Wars action. You know, and you got what I think you want with Star Wars. Let's see the ships. Just give us all the different ships doing all their bullshit. You know, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, what got you when you watched it, Rob?
I mean, like, just the visuals just like hit you in the face.
Yes.
Like this, you know, fan film hits the ground running.
Right.
And it's fantastic. And
Disney's sending the cops again.
Yeah, yeah.
We're
And so you're
something they didn't make.
Yeah, you're getting great dogfighting, which was like, you know, honestly, one of the things I love so much about New Hope.
Yeah, right.
You know, like, I think some of the best dogfighting in all of Star Wars is in New Hope.
Yeah, I agree. Especially even with the special, particularly with the special edition.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, you're getting more of that, but like here again, like kind of all the cues and hints to the X-Wing and TIE Fighter games, and it's great. Like a TIE Avenger shows up.
Yes, that was awesome.
Yeah, which like I think of any of the TIE variants gets the least attention.
Correct, and like they're even calling it by all the technical.
Yeah,
names.
exactly.
Really
like
great.
they called it an Avenger.
Yes,
I mean, you know, which I think is a name that like doesn't get like because even in the X-Wing games they kind of switch between calling it Avenger and calling it TIE Advanced.
Right, like the X1. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And so you have like different versions of the TIE Advance, but to me it's always been the Avenger. The fact that they got that right just
Yeah, chef's kiss. That's what Rob just gave. I also want to just point out that I got Rob to admit the special editions did something better. So, well, because I love those. Yeah, this is absolute must watch. If you love those games, but if you just love Star Wars, this is some of the best Star Wars production. One of the best Star Wars productions I've ever seen. Right up there. In fact, we were saying it's neck and neck with the TIE Fighter anime.
Right.
I still think the TIE Fighter anime is better.
I do too.
But this...
And that's personal bias.
Yeah, it's personal. Yeah, it's totally taste. I think for a lot, especially if you're more of a fan of the Rebels, this is for you.
Right.
I mean, and it's really good. Obviously not canon at all, but who cares? It's a great time. And it's only 5.5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
there's
yeah.
a totally ridiculous part at the end of this. I'm not going to spoil it.
Yeah, let's not spoil that.
Yeah, let's not spoil it. But I mean, it's just it's totally ridiculous in such a great way.
Yeah, I agree. So link is in the show notes for this. Links are in the show notes actually for much of what we talked about, including the trailers. If you haven't seen those yet, do go ahead and check all of those out. Rob, I think we can wrap this one up. I don't want to do a temperature gauge on Star Wars because I already know the answer to that.
Yeah.
I mean, you got like, you can't be feeling good.
I mean, well, okay. I'm conflicted.
Conflicted.
Yeah, because I mean, I still have hope in the Filoniverse, if you will.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
still really looking forward to Ahsoka.
Yep.
I'm still really looking forward to the 3rd season of The Mandalorian.
Yep.
I'm even looking forward to Andor.
Yeah, I am too. Okay, that's fair. And Bad Batch season 2. I'm
Yeah,
fine
right.
with
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Yeah. So I mean,
and
there.
Book of Boba Fett season 2.
Yeah. Well.
If we're getting that.
Yeah. It's funny enough. Even Tamara Morrison said that he had problems with the characterization of Boba Fett in
Wow.
that series.
Right on.
So
Okay.
I mean, like, you know, maybe there's a chance they can turn this around and do a season 2 of Boba Fett.
Sure.
And, like, you know, right that ship.
Yep. Okay. But yeah, no, I'm with you. Okay, so there's things I'm like, just like I said, Acolyte. I'm even just in the abstract. I'm like cautiously excited about. But
Yeah, that's the one I'm most concerned about, to be honest with you.
wow,
Yeah.
but it's in such a great time.
Really? The
I think
High
so.
Republic?
No. Well, it's like going into episode 1. I'm hoping that it leads into the rise of Palpatine.
I don't think it will. I think we're talking about something that is firmly in the High Republic era,
Yeah.
which to me has just been. Granted, I haven't read all the material, but what I've seen is complete and utter shit.
All right. Well, there we go. So yeah, okay. So we're not feeling like terrible about everything, but I don't know. I'm just worried about Disney's like.
And I've heard
trajectory.
Acolyte is Kathleen Kennedy's baby, so there's some trepidation there. And I've defended her in the past.
Yeah, we have.
But you know, ever since she said that there's no source material going forward for Star Wars, you know, for the direction of Star Wars, I just like I've written her off.
Can't do it, Sally. Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, that's where we're at. So we're lukewarm. How about that? But
Yeah.
okay. I like that. So Rob, awesome to be doing this shit with you live. I know we've mentioned that quite a few times already in recent episodes that we recorded together, but man, it really is still such a special thing since we did this for years remotely.
Right.
But now we're always doing it in the same room, and man, it's fucking awesome.
Isn't it?
It is. So more of this to come. We'll see how much more, because of course Alan and I will be getting on the road soon. But there will certainly be. I can definitely say there will be more Patreon content featuring you and I. And maybe we'll get in another TIE Fighter Renegade. We'll see what comes out there.
Sure.
Why spoil the surprise?
Yeah.
So we'll leave it at that. And we will see all of you on the other side.